Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Tuesday, June 18th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card we are starting our day off with today is the Strength card. Love seeing this. One of the things I like to see so much in yesterday's reading was there was so much of that concentration in the tangible space, just putting the nose to the grindstone, being able to really ground some of this manifestation energy that we're feeling right now into the tangible space has been really key. And I have to say, it's requiring a little bit more of that work, right? It's requiring a little bit more of that energetic courage. It's requiring to kind of be in that brave space, if you will, especially and particularly because what we effectively see is happening right now. And it is going to have a different context depending on where you are in the frequencies. Because for the energy right now, deep within the divine union frequency, what did we see was effectively happening? A lot of that energy right now is moving in such a way that they feel like they're very much inhabiting that space of being like minds around circumstances or situations. A lot of the concentration right now of effort that is occurring around the energy that's within the divine union frequency has to do with bringing the energy around you on board to a certain extent. A lot of that energy being able to move into that space of clarifying where you are energetically, potentially even navigating through miscommunications, misunderstandings, misalignments, but almost addressing those from a state of energetic compassion, requiring and giving the energy around you the benefit of the doubt. That is an act of energetic strength, if you will, because the ability to maintain one's own frequency in the face of energy that you're feeling like you're trying to come into that state of helping them recognize and understand something to a certain extent, that feels like something very much akin to like holding a pose, if you will. I even identified and recognized this yesterday. The best way that I can articulate it is like, imagine when you're trying to teach someone to tie their shoes, something that you do almost like without even thinking, some way that you're moving right now that almost feels like it's intuitive. It feels like it's not even up for questioning. This is where some of the frustration for some of the energy within the divine union is experiencing something right now, because it is forcing them to almost have to slow down a process that they would rather speed up. But why is the energy right now within the divine union slowing something down as opposed to speeding it up? Because that is that moment that is almost amplifying the desire and the ability of the energy in divine union to feel like they're not moving in a reactionary way, right? When we move slowly, we move with intention. And what's interesting about moving with intention is it doesn't indicate that you can't move quickly. It does indicate the ability that when you do so with the presence of mind of it amplifying that it is in fact a choice. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy within the divine union, having the ability to maintain that sense of energetic strength, it's not only something that the energy within the union itself inhabits and feels, but it is one that almost feels like you are expanding it to the energy around you as you go, because that is where we see that a lot of the energy right now is putting their time, effort, and energy, like facilitating that smoothness point. And that's that moment that almost feels like a lot of the energy within the divine union is almost bearing the weight for those around them to show them that such a point is possible, right? Like that's almost that moment of like feeling and asserting and establishing the stability of something via the expression of the ability to hold that center, if you will. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, a lot of this energetic equivalent that we're seeing here is that feeling of something that is growing in strength. What did we articulate was happening right now for a lot of the energy coming into divine union that is feeling like a breakthrough, even at a moment that something feels like it's just beginning? This is energy that's already feeling something that feels different, right? Something that is moving in a different way. It may even feel like you're going through the motions that one typically would with other counterpart energy. But if there's that sense of something feeling different, it's because this energy has already effectively strength tested the bond or connection between them and the potential counterpart. Why? Because when we move into that space of manifestation, when we have that ability to articulate upon what it is that we truly wish to manifest going forward, that is that expression of resilience that is observable in both masculine and feminine energy. Bearing in mind, it's not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to in different ways. For the masculine energy to be able to come into that expression of being vulnerable towards feminine, having that moment of not taking a moment of recognizing that by putting forward a manifestation, there's always that possibility that the feminine may decline to move forward in such a way. But also the sense of the expression of allowing for that point of choice, and masculine energy that has overcome their own ego to such an extent that they don't take the feminine declining or moving away from them as a personal wounding moment, but more as an observation of the feminine that has a different manifestation goal than the masculine energy. This is a lot of masculine energy that is feeling and experiencing the stability that occurs in such a place. And it starts with the ability of the self, right? This is that moment. It's like the inside matches the outside, because that's that moment that these energies are recognizing that they're not just coincidentally stumbling upon that this is the affirmation of seeing what that work on challenging the self is doing, because it's yielding the results that are tangible in the present state. While for feminine energy, having that same point of resilience, not building towards masculine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, not based on what could appear that isn't present, but almost making that the energetic requirement. This is feminine energy that's moving into divine union right now, that's not building into something with the anticipation, with the sense of saying, of like feeling that receiving a manifestation goal from the masculine is an accomplishment. This is the energy of the feminine that's setting it forth as a requirement. So we see even now, like, this is the feminine doing that work that is feeling the energetic strength of being able to have the resilience to do so. And this is energy that in the ability to articulate upon the manifestation goal, they also relinquish the ability of moving towards that independently, because this is the energy that is articulating via the ability to articulate the manifestation goal to the counterpart, that they're looking for divine union, not just companionship. While for masculine and feminine energy, and this is the energy that feels the strength and the stability of the connection that they are creating, because they feel like it is being created on terra firma. It's being created on solid ground. While for the energy in separation right now, if this is energy that is walking away from a situation and scenario where they started to feel the energetic connection that was taking form in the ability to connect with the past, potentially during Taurus season, that ability of sharing a perspective or energetic lessons from a potential counterpart, but it wasn't being matched with an ability to articulate forward, to talk about what one desires or aspires. This is the energy that is recognizing that that strength is the strength found from within. The strength found from within to be able to move towards one's manifestation goals requires strength to recognize where the manifestation goal is not. So this is the energy. I was describing this yesterday for feminine energy. I like to describe this as like salt in the cupboard. It's like the way you move towards your manifestation goals is you don't just open a cupboard and say, I'm looking for salt, and you don't see the salt and you say, okay, I guess I'll just stand in front of this cupboard until salt appears. This is the energy that recognizes that if the salt isn't present, then it's probably a good idea to look at another cupboard. So the feminine energy, not agonizing, not like, beating their chest and saying, why isn't their salt in this cupboard? But instead taking that moment of resilience and appreciation of the self to say, maybe there's no salt in the cupboard. Maybe that has nothing to do with me. Maybe because there's just no salt in that cupboard. That's the ability of the feminine, as it were, to move towards their goals, because that's the feminine energy that is resilient, that sets the energetic standards, that knows what they're looking for, and continues to seek it out, right? And that's that moment that we see even now, that breakthrough is the feminine energy feeling the strength along the way. While for masculine energy, again, if these are spaces and places wherein you're potentially encountering a feminine energy that isn't showing an ability to articulate on manifestation goals, And you have already gone through all of this. Is from the masculine energy. Like, this is masculine saying, if I just went through all the trouble of being able to teach myself how to do this, if I've had to go through that trouble of becoming vulnerable, this is that masculine that says, I require an energy of the feminine that's able to do same. I require a feminine. And this is also the masculine, if they're not seeing that in the feminine, is observing the perception that some of that feminine energy, if they're not articulating on a manifestation goal, it may be because, and if these are energies of masculine that was building an energetic connection via the feminine articulating about the past, this is a masculine that's using their power of perception to recognize that that is potentially a feminine energy that cannot talk towards the future because their manifestation goal is still in the past. They're still in a point of healing. They're still not ready to move forward. They're still building upon that hidden hope of the past returning forward that would allow for that sense of energetic breakthrough. And so again, all of these energies right now in separation, the ability to move forward and to continue forward on your journey, this is the energy that is feeling the strength within, like giving themselves that energetic boost because they're seeing that that strength is the strength of the self coming through in relationality and moving towards manifestation goals. Second card in our 5-card spread for today is, we've got here our 4 of Swords, and it's in its upright. Now, masculine and feminine energy right now that is in separation. This is that moment, and this is really beautiful because I need to stress this right now, right? This is the energy in separation. It's not that the past isn't coming back to the surface here. But do you see how important and how valuable the past coming back to the surface can be when we're able to view it objectively? This is energy that isn't waning nostalgic for the past, right? This is energy that is potentially recognizing the patterns of the past and looking towards them. If this is energy that's seeing something that feels similar to a past experience wherein an energetic lesson occurred, this is the energy that is utilizing that and rendering a point of strength from it. Because what occurs when we're able to learn the lessons from the past and implement them in the present? We break our own patterns. We recognize what feels like it energetically serves us. We understand and recognize whether we're about to walk back into the same energetic lesson, or when faced with that, if we make that energetic choice to move forward. So in a way, even in this moment of the energy, seeing the opportunity of potentially moving back towards something that feels somewhat familiar to something that they recently walked away from, this is the energy that is almost experiencing a personal sense of closure in that moment, because this is the energy that's seeing something arriving in the same way, but making an energetic different choice and recognizing that that choice of the self is the energy that's almost having the opportunity to reawaken the past lesson, but is instead choosing to allow it to lie. It's allowing it to stay restive. It's not moving back to that, and it's receiving catharsis on the way, because that is the understanding of recognizing and seeing that energetic pattern emerging again, but making a different energetic choice. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, this is the energy that is feeling that sense of peace and closure that is happening around experiences from the past right now, specifically due to that acknowledgement of the sense of stability and tranquility that arises when you're not being forced to put all of your energy into the manifestation in hoping a manifestation will manifest. That there's a lot of energy right now that's recognizing that some of that ability there, that restive state, could be is like that feeling of the manifestation coming in, because this is the energy that recognizes that the ability of not having to wait to manifest, this is the energy that says, I'm not going to get caught in that loop where I'm hoping to manifest a manifestation from another. This is the energy that's feeling the peace, because that is that moment of closure that they're receiving from past experiences, wherein that level and degree of manifestation wasn't brought forth. That's the energy that's literally building closure on the way. And this is why a lot of this energy right now, even moving towards divine union, even like regardless, this is the energy saying, regardless of what occurs here, I'm really glad I met you, right? Because this is the energy that says, you've brought me peace. You've brought me understanding, because the easement that you've shown via your own ability and recognizing how much strength it requires, because you see how much work this energy has done to be able to come into such a state of tranquility. This is the energy that's almost feeling that sense of compassion for one another along the way, because this is the energy that already feels like they're healing something on a deep level just via the connectivity in the moment. Again, abandoning the energetic outcome, just inhabiting the present sense. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, this is the energy trying to reaffirm to the energy outside of the divine union that such a sense of closure of the past has occurred. Because if there was any kind of caution here that was being put up, if there was any kind of trepidation, this is the energy that is almost trying to articulate to the energy outside the divine union that what they are seeing isn't something about the past energetically repeating itself, but rather it is a breakthrough point of closure in being able to let something from the past go in order to facilitate something stronger going forward. So we see even now a lot of that peace and tranquility that is arising right now that feels like it is bringing with it a source of strength. Third card in our 5-card spread for today is, we've got here our Temperance card in its reversal. For masculine and feminine energy right now that is in the divine union frequency, I told you one of the things that's problematic here has to do with timing, as it were. Because if these are energies that we are seeing right now, I told you, this is the energy, the strength that is being required right now for a lot of the energy within the divine union is slowing a process down that you feel internally you're not doing for the sake of your own selves, but more for the sake of the energy around you. This is the energy that's continuing forward to a certain extent. This keeps on coming forward, which is like having to navigate spaces or places with energy saying, why can't you slow it down? And this is the energy that's almost saying to the energy outside the divine union, if we had it our way, we would move something even faster, right? That's that modality that we're seeing, because a lot of the energy right now within the divine union is moving towards that feeling of inevitability, that sensation of the manifestation having arrived, which almost wants to facilitate that fast action, if you will. But this is also the energy that is tempering that and recognizing that the ability of understanding control is not just the ability to move in a fast way, but the determination point in allowing that to be an amplification of a choice one can make. That is that moment that even now we feel that a lot of the energy within the divine union frequency is feeling that amplification of strength that is being articulated by those around them by an ability and a degree to show that sense of patience that does not come from a state of volatility or reactivity, but more from a sense of when you move quickly and it's recognizable that you are someone who can move slowly. That is almost that moment that feels like the amplification of conscientious action. While for masculine and feminine energy, because that is the effect of understanding of moving with intentionality. And what do we mean when we say we move with intentionality? We move with control of the self. So this is the energy in the divine union moving with a lot of intentionality, which means, again, it's slower than they would anticipate and desire, but it also shows the fact that they're moving with a lot of that sense of control, if you will, of themselves and of their own manifestation goals. While for masculine and feminine energy, that is coming into divine union. This is why the energy feels like something is different here, because this is an energy that feels like they need to rush this process. Why doesn't the energy right now coming into divine union feel like they need to rush the process? Because if this is energy that feels like their manifestation goal is starting to take shape, they're seeing something there that's starting to take form. This is an energy that is trying to rush the process, feeling like they're going to energetically change something if they hit some kind of milestone or hit some kind of benchmark. This is the energy that is enjoying the process as they go, right? This is the energy that's hitting, like, I want to say like that. It doesn't feel like limbo. It feels like a sweet spot, because this is the energy that's feeling the articulation and amplification of contentment that is built upon clarity, that creates that feeling of both peace and excitement. While for masculine and feminine in separation right now, this is the energy that is effectively feeling that sense of contentment within the self, because this is not energy. I need to stress this. This isn't energy that is being reactive. This isn't energy that's like cutting someone off for the sake of a reactivity point. This isn't energy that is waiting around for the hope of someone energetically changing. This is the energy that's moving with a lot of intention, a lot of objectivity, and that is built upon their own sense of observation. So if this is energy that is staying focused on their manifestation goal, even if they're moving away from someone that they feel like they don't see that expression in, this energy doesn't feel like they're losing something in that. This is energy that feels like they're continuing forward with that sense of looking and seeking what they're finding, right? This is that moment of the energy that feels strength in that, because it doesn't feel like a moment of abandonment. It doesn't feel like a moment of waiting for a reactivity point. It feels like energy that is meaning what they say and saying what they mean, moving from a state of deep authenticity and deep intentionality that almost feels like the expression of the energy, that feels like that commitment of moving towards a manifestation goal is that rightness in their own pathwork. And that's why the energy right now is moving forward in separation with that wait and see approach, but also relinquishing the energetic outcome, because this is that open palm. This is desiring something, but not needing something, because this is the energy that feels strong in the self as they proceed forward from this point. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we've got here, this is the 8 of Wands in its reversal. This isn't energy. You see this even now. What's beautiful about this is, even if these are energies that are moving away from something that isn't in alignment to them, this isn't energy that is taking it personally. This is an energy that is struggling and saying to themselves, why couldn't someone give me a manifestation goal? What's wrong with me? What do I have to change about the self? This is the energy going, like shaking that off, if you will, and recognizing and understanding that if you don't see something in someone that you hope to have expressed, maybe it's just not there. Maybe it just doesn't exist there. Maybe you can see the potentiality of something being there, but a lot of things exist in the etheric potential. You can see someone's potential all the time, but if the presence, if it isn't present, if there isn't a kernel of that presence that is being expressed, then that is the energy that is immediately feeling like the strength that is occurring right now is the easement through which one is not punishing oneself for what one isn't seeing in another. Right? And that almost comes into that space of, that is forgiveness of the self that immediately has on its wings the forgiveness of the energy around you in the process, right? Because you're not looking at the energy around you as a means to an end. You're just seeing what is present and determining whether it's in alignment to you. While for masculine and feminine energy, that is coming into divine union. This is the gift that you're giving one another along the way, because if you've already done that hard work, if you went to all that work of articulating what your manifestation goals are, if you define them to one another, if you recognize where they were dissimilar, this is energy that feels the openness, the trust fall that is occurring in building forward with an energetic connection. And that is an energy that is fearing or not sure what that energy is going to do going forward. This is energy that already feels that sense of having that vulnerability expressed and seeing through the objective ability to articulate upon a manifestation goal that immediately qualifies it as something that is not, that puts the prioritization of care in the other person at a higher priority than the deliverance of the manifestation goal. The mindfulness of not utilizing others as a means to an end for your own manifestation goal by articulating what they are to allow someone the ability of choice to amplify whether they're moving towards it with you. This is the energy that's feeling something different because you're giving each other that gift. And it creates that moment of vulnerability, but it is the vulnerability of something that is vulnerable that can be touched because you're already feeling like you're not doing that from a state of uncertainty. You're building that trust as you go. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is in the divine union frequency, this is what you're extending to those around you. That same benefit of the doubt, that same feeling of security, that feeling of, again, moving forward with openness and confidence, allowing oneself to mean what you say and say what you mean. This is the energy that is effectively trying to extend their manifestation goal to those around them. And that's not that moment that feels like it's forced, right? It's not that energy that says like you have to be in alignment with how we're moving or what we're doing. But this is the energy that almost like has that open hug approach, which says, we'd love it if you'd come with us. We'd love it if you were sharing in that sense of abundance and beauty and joy by amplifying it and radiating it to those around them. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is open palm. It's an open palm approach we've got here with our 4 of Pentacles in its reversal. Because this is the energy that is almost, again, what's happening for a lot of the energy within the divine union frequency. It's that efflusiveness. It's that ability and that desire to share joy, to share abundance, to share happiness, to share news. So we see even here that for a lot of the energy within that frequency, that ability to just express and to articulate where they are energetically, not just for the benefit of the self, but being able to like try to share that to the energy around them. That almost feels like that, like I want to say, it's like, it's giving a lot of that, like, it's giving me a lot of like that Ace of Cups vibe without the card here. This is like an Ace of Cups. If you put these together, it's kind of like an Ace of Cups feeling. So we see even now, that almost feels like that moment of, again, not just having something joyful, but wanting others to experience it, wanting others to share it. Like that is that feeling that we see that a lot of the energy within the frequency is trying to bring forth. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, this is the gift that you're giving one another. Because if these are energies that are building into that state of trust, they're feeling that vulnerability, they're feeling that relief in saying, I've discovered someone I can be open and authentic with, and they share my manifestation goals. This feels like that triumph. It feels like that breakthrough point because you're seeing your manifestation goal in action via the ability to articulate upon it and finding someone that shares it. So this is the energy that's feeling that radiant joy in not only having a manifestation goal, but seeing that counterpart, seeing that energetic equivalent that's there and also shares it. This is the energy that, again, feels like they're feeling that energetic manifestation taking shape in the tangible presence of the world around them. While for masculine and feminine right now, that is in separation, this is the energy that feels like they're also seeing it via the self. Because if you're recognizing that you are moving towards a manifestation goal and as a result, you are changing your habits, you are recognizing your patterns, you are breaking unhealthy coping mechanisms, you're not moving towards unhealthy connections, but instead you are maintaining your energetic focus. It's not easy, right? There's always that lingering desire to return to what's comfortable, even if it was painful. But this is the energy that's breaking that energetic chain and moving forward into the unknown with a sense that they're not moving into the unknown because they're starting to feel that shift. They're seeing the shift within the self. And either this energy, again, if these were energies that experience someone, they recognize that the only reason they're not together is because your manifestation goals are different. This is the energy that either feels like they've seen evidence of their manifestation present in those around them, or This is the energy that feels like they are saying no to what isn't their manifestation in order to facilitate moving towards the yes. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Strength card and our Four of Swords, and it's upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our King of Wands and its reversal. And this is going to feel a little bit different for the energy and separation. Bearing in mind, depending on whether you're masculine or feminine aligned, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what feels most aligned to you. Now, for feminine energy, this is the feminine energy that's having the energetic breakthrough. And what is the energetic breakthrough for the feminine in separation? That if they're moving away from a potential partnership or a potential counterpart that didn't show an ability to articulate on what the manifestation goal is, this is the feminine energy that almost feels like they're seeing some experience or some manifestation of their past returning in such a way. And that's the feminine energy, again, feeling that sense of seeing and saying, oh, there's path work there. I could move towards that person. I could take a wait and see approach. I could hope maybe something will appear there that isn't evident. I could build into a passionate connection, hoping that maybe the passionate connection will render some like magnificent change in the masculine energy, where suddenly they'll be able to articulate and decide that they have a manifestation goal that they want to deliver. But this is the feminine energy reminding themselves and having the strength, if you will, to articulate and say to themselves, that would be welcoming the past back. That would be the feminine welcoming and walking back into the same past that they may have been working so hard to heal from. So this is the feminine energy that's reaffirming and saying that ability is always there. That choice is always on the table. But to the feminine, that's almost the similar. It's just like walking straight back into the past. like walking right back into the situation that you may have moved away from. Because this is the feminine energy that is, again, recognizing that what we say yes to, we don't say yes to under conditions. That what we allow is what we accept. So this is the feminine energy that is affirming and remembering that if you move towards masculine energy that hasn't articulated a manifestation goal, that's a masculine energy that has felt like they've received a manifestation, they've received connection with you without having to provide a manifestation goal. That doesn't bring a space wherein the masculine feels that need or the desire to be able to do so, because that's the masculine energy that is content and has received what they desire just from the state of being. So we see even now that for a lot of the feminine energy, that observation point, that is the feminine energy moving back into that sense or that state of saying, I need to take the masculine at face value. I can't work into that illusory space of working, wondering all the gears and whistles and bells that may be the reason why someone is being energetically resistant to providing something. This is the feminine almost saying, I just need to accept what I'm seeing and take it as face value. And that in itself is the breakthrough a lot of the feminine is experiencing right now in separation. Well, for masculine energy, if these are spaces and places where you're seeing that resistant point, if you went to all the trouble of articulating what a manifestation goal is with the feminine, it's coming from the desire of seeking an energetic counterpart that wants to join you in the working towards that manifestation goal. And if there's a reluctance point or resistance point that masculine is receiving in separation, this is masculine just facing the facts, not taking it personally. Again, just saying, if this is a feminine energy I'm encountering right now that doesn't show an ability to articulate on the manifestation goal, then this is a feminine energy that probably has a manifestation goal that is most articulated in the desire of someone from the past coming forward energetically healed. That's a masculine saying, I'm not seeing a feminine energy that's desiring to move forward. I'm encountering a feminine energy that is effectively in some way, shape, or form waiting on the past or caught in the past. So we see even now that these energies navigating forward from a state of deep compassion, but it doesn't really feel like it even requires explanation from the energy that they may be encountering in this way. Because this isn't feminine energy that wants masculine to deliver a manifestation goal because the masculine feels like that's the only way to maintain status quo, because this is also feminine energy that's healed enough to recognize the difference between a manifestation goal that is freely given versus a manifestation goal that is only brought forth at the last moment in order to maintain status quo. And this is masculine that doesn't feel like they want to rush or doesn't feel like it's going to help a feminine if they're encountering a feminine that's still healing from the past by articulating and saying to the feminine, hey, it looks like you're caught in the past, because that to the masculine doesn't feel so much like an energy of empathy so much as it feels like it might be tearing open a wound. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, but the perception of this does feel like the breakthrough for a lot of the energy right now, because it is the ability to observe something in a way that doesn't focus on the self, but is more observational in terms of what you are experiencing outside of the self, not internalizing an external problem. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is coming into divine union, this is the energetic equivalent of having breakthroughs right now. This is energy that is healing, just even in the process of building a connection, because the peace, the easement, the contentment that you're already feeling in something that has just begun, because you're building from such a strong foundation. This is the energy of both masculine and feminine that are learning from the past as they go. For feminine, this is providing clarity. This is providing context of how easy it can be when you're working with masculine energy that is committed to doing the work on the self to allow that sense of easement. And that's the feminine energy, recognizing that that's not something that the feminine can create or generate in the masculine. That's something that the masculine must bring forward within the self in order to create that strong energetic counterpart energy with the feminine. While for masculine, this is the masculine potentially going through that period. If these were spaces and places where this is the first time that you've been able to be vulnerable in this way, it may feel a little bit more energetically heavy, because you may be operating in that space of regret, in potentially recognizing spaces from the past wherein you may wonder what would have occurred had you found that energetic ability sooner. But this is the energy right now that doesn't have that desire to go towards the past. This is that energy of a past masculine that is continuing to work on that process of the self to a certain extent, because this is the energy that does not externalize what is occurring within them, but is constantly referencing the self and learning that process of putting immediate desire aside for the sake of energetic connection, because that is the energy that is truly working in terms of recognizing and feeling the connection internally, as opposed to that sense of immediate gratification. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within the divine union frequency, a lot of this energy that we're seeing right now, there's a lot of healing that's happening for a lot of energy outside the divine union via just being in the energetic presence of some of the energy within the divine union. Because I'm seeing even here, this is the energy that's holding the energy outside or around the divine union to the same energetic standard, right? And we see even here that some of the energy right now within the divine union is navigating spaces that feel like they're kind of like sharing that amplification, sharing that same feeling of joy, versus maybe some areas here that we see that may feel like they're more difficult or more triggering, because we almost see here that for some of the energy, that ability, to be able to be in that modality, it requires that same ability not to take things too energetically personally. It requires that same ability to kind of seeing things in that bigger perspective. So we see even now, this is why if there's any energy that the energy within the union is experiencing that feels like it's more akin to static via the energy outside the divine union, it's being navigated with the sense of patience. Because this isn't energy within the union that's taking it personally. This is energy that's looking towards the source of the static with a sense of compassion and recognizing and understanding that that is someone who may be going through the journey within the self that they may be overly externalizing in those around them. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Four of Swords in combination with our Temperance card in its reversal. Clarification coming through right now with our Eight of Wands in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy, I'm going to tell you right now, within the divine union, They're not chasing energy down to try to bring them on board, especially in relationality to their own energetic feelings or their own plans at this time. This is the energy that, again, is just taking, I want to say, like a very open hand approach, if you will. Putting something on the table, if you will, saying, like, again, that's not something of the energy, like it's a ratio thing. It's not like the energy within the divine union is making it their energetic mission for those around them to feel that same amplification of joy and positivity in relationality to any of these changes. This is the energy that recognizes that the ability to move forward to a certain extent, that there's always going to be those frustrations, there's always going to be those obstructions, there's always going to be those moments that feel like they're more difficult. But what we see that is happening here is the energy's learning not to be energetically reactive about it. This is the energy that's, again, and what's beautiful about this is the energy within the divine union is letting time kind of help motivate forward. This is the energy that feels like time is energetically on their side to a certain extent, because this is that modality that, again, what happens when you move towards a manifestation goal and you relinquish the energetic outcome? That's that moment that you move towards something, not because you're trying to move to a particular destination, but because it articulates and amplifies your joy just being in that space and place to do so. This is the energy that is expressing that feeling of not trying to arrive at a destination, not trying to arrive at a manifestation goal, but feeling like you've already found it. So we see even now, like, that is the energy that is being expressed within the divine union frequency. And this is why the energy itself is working through their own sense of patience, because it's not a patience here. The patience that we see here has more to do with, like, anything that feels like it moves against it. It feels like it's almost denying the inevitable, right? That's the beauty that happens when we're really moving with that sense of determination towards our manifestation goals. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, you're starting to have that same feeling potentially. Because if there's this moment that you're feeling like something is different here, even though you're kind of going through the same process, but it's almost that moment of feeling the security and stability in not having to wonder where something is going, because you feel like you're already on the same page with someone. It's almost like you're of like minds. It almost feels like, again, that Venn diagram. You feel the security, you feel the sanctity in what you're agreeing upon with towards one another. Like the commitment is the authenticity. The commitment is the honesty. The commitment is the clarity. The commitment isn't the promise of a manifestation goal. In a way, you've already committed towards that endeavor, because what you're manifesting together is the clarity, is the authenticity. And that's not something that feels like it needs to be acted upon in order to occur. That's something that you're feeling is already existing within you. While for masculine and feminine energy and separation, this is why the energy is moving very quickly away from energy that is not able to provide that level and degree of clarity and context in relationality to what they aspire going forward, or where they are presently inhabiting. Because this is the energy that recognizes and feels that amplification. If you have a manifestation goal, it's not the sense that you need someone who's going to, like, rapidly move into that manifestation goal together. This is the energy in separation that feels like they're practicing spiritual hygiene by making sure that your pathwork is in alignment to one another. And the ability to see the openness and honesty or clarity through which someone is able to articulate what it is they aspire and desire going forward. This, in a way, is the energy that is looking to see how someone speaks towards the future, that is giving insight into how one perceives the future. So we see even now that if there's that energy here that is feeling like, again, either they met an energetic counterpart, they saw all the ideal qualities and characteristics that they would aspire and desire to see but they articulated and were open about the manifestation goals being different. This is energy that already feels like their manifestation has arrived to a certain extent because they're seeing it. They're seeing it in plain sight. They're seeing the fact of how easy it can be to move away from someone without creating unhealed karmic energy in the process. Or if this is energy that started to build towards a relationship with someone, or started to build that connection, but there wasn't an ability to articulate about what one desires going forward. This is the energy that, again, isn't sticking around to try to figure out the why, because this is the energy saying there's countless reasons as to why that may be, but it doesn't matter what the reasons are. What matters is what is seen. What matters is what is present. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now, between our Temperance card in its reversal, in combination with our Nine of Wands in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. This is the energy that's not, I gotta say it again. Make sure you don't get too reactionary here. Make sure that you don't get too volatile, because I do see a little bit of volatility here, potentially. Particularly because I'm recognizing that for some of the energy in separation right now, moving away from what doesn't feel like it's in alignment to you, we saw even some of that resistance point that was occurring yesterday in relationality to, again, if these are spaces and places wherein the feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, didn't see or feel a manifestation that was brought forth until after masculine saw what would occur if a manifestation wasn't brought forth. If this is masculine trying to rush forth with that manifestation now, this is the feminine, again, trying to articulate to masculine the difference between something that is freely given versus something that is being thrown at someone, like as they're leaving or departing, to try to preserve what is there. And this is simply the feminine energy recognizing that a manifestation goal received only after seeing the evidence of what will occur if one is not being delivered is no longer a manifestation goal. It feels like it moves into that space of not being able to trust the authenticity of it. It moves into that space of feeling like it is a desperate measure, if you will. That is that energy of the feminine, that even in that modality, there's that reluctance or to return to something there, because that's the feminine. It almost feels like that is what they can energetically expect from that energy going forward, right? Like that's almost the feminine seeing like that is what is almost required in order to get something. That doesn't feel like it's something freely given. And that's why we see even now, like it doesn't feel for a lot of the feminine energy in that moment like that is something that they may want to return to, but it may feel like it's almost creating that conflict space, because that's that moment of the feminine feeling more of that reactivity in terms of feeling like the masculine isn't coming towards them from a place of authenticity, so much as it feels like the masculine that feels like almost coming into that state of desperation, trying to hold on to something to maintain status quo, right? While for masculine energy in that modality, we see even here, if this is masculine energy moving in that state of energetic healing, this is not a state or space. If this is feminine energy that isn't showing an ability to articulate their manifestation goal, but is also trying to move towards masculine at that time. This is a masculine that's almost trying to move away from that with like expediency, because the masculine almost feels like there's too much energetic temptation there. Because this is a masculine that, again, doesn't want to feel like they're pulling the feminine out or away from their manifestation goal. They don't want the feminine to come into a regret space and say, I didn't want to be here, you took me with you. This is the masculine that almost says to the feminine, I want you to be resilient enough to be able to articulate to me what it is you desire so that we can create it together, as opposed to the masculine feeling the anxiety of potentially pulling a feminine away from their desired manifestation goal, which is the sense of the past, that desire of wanting the past to return in some context. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, this is why this energy can't move towards each other fast enough now. This is the energy that can't move towards one another fast enough, because this is the energy that is feeling that sense of openness. They're feeling that sense of sharing to such extent. They're feeling that sense of vulnerability. And that's not coming from a state of uncertainty and anxiety. It's coming from a state of assurance. It's coming from a state of energetic safety. So we see now that these are almost energies that are moving towards each other with like that feeling of inevitability that's starting to take root, because that inevitability feels like that sense of confidence that comes through when we feel the ability to truly trust someone. And this is energy that's already started to build that center of trust that feels like it's bringing with it that huge surfeit of confidence. While for masculine and feminine energy, deep within the divine union frequency, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, this is the energetic equivalent, again, I'm going to say it again, not allowing oneself to get triggered if there's something around the divine union frequency that feels like it's not coming towards them in the space or place that they would aspire and desire. There's a lot of that work here. I have to stress, there's not a lot of patience today. I got to say that. There's just not a lot of patience. So I want everyone to like take some calming breaths today if you feel like you're getting a little triggered, because I got to say I've got a little bit of this like loose lip, if you will, here. But that can be very positive, right? In the right context. Like that openness can feel very amplifying. It can create a lot of confidence and create a lot of positivity if the energy around you is moving in the same direction. But if there's like conflict energy here, today might not be the best day to like articulate on something, because it does feel like there is a candor today that may feel like it is a little incendiary, as it were. So just be a little mindful of that as you're moving forward in this way, because like I said, this is that like focus I'm seeing right now, the energy within the divine union that is like almost articulating and saying like that direction that they're moving in, it isn't up for debate. It's not up for, I have to say, it's not up for shifting, right? That's why we see even now that energy is like saying that sense of being like, I hope that you're in alignment, because that's the energy that's effectively like recognizing what feels like it's in alignment towards them versus what feels like it's like a lot of it's built on the power of observation, right? So that's that moment. It's giving me that like vibe of like you're either like frolicking in the field with me or you're like frolicking in the field against me kind of energy today. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Nine of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Four of Pentacles in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through, right? Yeah, I'm just going to remember I said this today, okay? All right, because I see even now the problem with this today, or the hurdle to be experienced, has a little to do, I'm seeing, with there's a lot of vulnerability today, which can be positive, right? If you're looking in terms of navigating something and coming into that state of healing, right? Bringing in a lot of empathy towards situations that are difficult. This will be potentially cathartic, right? This will be that magnification point in being able to, like, what's the beauty? Like when we're going through things that are difficult, having energy around us to help us to share that. That is almost that moment. Like that's giving me a little bit of that energy here that makes something easier energetically to bear today, because it's that feeling that it's not being held within, right? The ability to share that in such a way that builds connection or builds bridges with that work is going to be very good today. If you're utilizing this in an unhealthy way, this could be being able to being insensitive of another's sensitivities, potentially like overstepping, potentially like diminishing or making light of something that someone else takes with a lot of energetic gravity. So be very conscientious of the difference of that today, because I can see even here, like, it requires a little bit of that, like, gentle touch or treading lightly to be able to navigate heavy things. While for masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union, this is that energetic equivalent, if you will, in relationality to feeling that sense of buildup that we see that's happening here, because there's a lot of relief that I see is happening for a lot of this energy that's coming into divine union, but it's also triggering. And we've been talking about this. Why would it be triggering to be able to receive a manifestation goal? Because the moment that you receive a manifestation goal, you often get those moments of remembering the spaces and places wherein you hope to receive that manifestation goal and you didn't. That's why sometimes this has to, like, as we're healing, we uncover new hurts, because sometimes it's that moment that we receive something with the easement, like with the simplification point. It almost like amplifies the agony or the pain of the journey that may have taken, the lessons that may have been needed to learn to be able to have something come towards you with that level or degree of easement. So just be a little kind and gentle to yourself today if you're going through any of that process. While for the energy and separation right now, this is that frustration. This is the amplification of frustration if this is occurring. Because if this is energy that either saw the ideal counterpart, but you had different manifestation goals, there is a bit of that frustration that needs to be worked through in relationality of feeling like you're getting close, but no cigar. Like, it's so close, but it's so far. Or if this is energy that's trying to separate away from someone that did not show an ability to articulate a manifestation goal, and someone is expressing their displeasure or their frustration, or even trying to hold on to someone in that modality after the fact, it could lead to some very, just don't match energy today. Hold the energetic standard, because I see even now, like, that almost requires dealing in, like, some sensitive areas here that could be somewhat triggering if not navigated with a sense of empathy, but clarity. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our King of Wands in its reversal and our Eight of Wands in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our star energy. So for masculine and feminine energy right now in separation, this is why, if these are spaces and places where you're starting to move away from someone energetically that didn't show that ability to articulate on the manifestation goals, it feels a little frustrating, to put it mildly. Because again, this isn't the feminine energy in that modality. If they asked for something and it wasn't received from the masculine, this isn't necessarily a space of the feminine wanting to say to the masculine, well, the reason I'm breaking this connection is because I asked you what your manifestation goals were and you vacillated. Because the feminine energy fears at the moment that they articulate that to masculine, that masculine will provide a manifestation goal to the feminine, but it isn't coming from a place of authenticity. Right? Like, that's simply it. That's the feminine almost saying it has to come freely and openly, or not at all. While for masculine energy, again, very much the same context. If this is masculine that is seeing the feminine being very open and honest, but it seems like the feminine is too focused on an energy from the past. If all of their attention is focused on talking about what occurred instead of talking about what could be, this isn't a masculine that wants to articulate and tap the feminine on the shoulder and say, it seems like you're really caught on that energy from the past. Because that's a masculine almost, again, coming into that state of compassion and not wanting to make something energetically worse, because saying that to someone doesn't fix it. It just like points out the elephant in the room. So we see even now that these energies are almost moving with a lot of care and conscientiousness and discernment as they navigate, and it feels a little bit like walking on eggshells, right? While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is coming into divine union, this is the energetic relief and understanding that you're having potentially around situations from the past that is being expressed by receiving something in such a way that you haven't received it before. And so again, it's a little bit different here, because if this is masculine energy, if you have just come into this ability to articulate to the feminine what it is you want, you may be remembering all the states and spaces that it took to be able to get you to that point. Right? This is the masculine energy almost trying to forgive themselves and saying that it wasn't. And again, if you're feeling like that masculine, remember, it's not your job to be perfect. It's no one's job to be perfect. It's our job to learn. So as long as you're learning, you're on that pathwork. So we see even now, this is the masculine energy that's really moving into that state of feeling like a lot of their job and responsibility coming into partnership is safeguarding feminine. But I would need to stress this. Do you see the difference here? This isn't masculine energy that feels like they need to safeguard feminine from other masculine energy or from feminine energy's own self. This is masculine energy that recognizes that to safeguard the feminine energy, they must come into their best state of being. Because by setting the energetic example is the best way that the masculine can protect the feminine. It's not something that one like proselytizes about. It is something that one energetically becomes. While for masculine energy, right? While for feminine energy, in coming into divine union, this is the feminine energy that is recognizing again that sense of openness, because this isn't feminine energy that's just trying to adapt to become accounted like whatever the masculine desires. This is the feminine energy trying to come into their most authentic version of self. This is feminine energy that is navigating and trying to be their most authentic version of self, and recognizing and identifying that by becoming their best version of self, they recognize what energy of masculine is for them versus what is not, because that is the journey of the feminine within that helps the feminine identify if there's something about the feminine being their most authentic version of self, while also being energetically mindful. If that sends a masculine away, well then the higher version of self just did you a solid, right? So we see even now that these energies are coming into alignment, not coincidentally. It's because they've done the work on the self necessary to be able to find the ideal energetic counterpart. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is in the heart of the divine union, this is the energy that feels that sense of security. It feels that sense of stability. It feels that sense of energetic confidence in relationality to what their priorities are. This is the energy of the masculine and feminine that feel like they are effectively or energetically of like minds to a certain extent. The hurdles that we see that are occurring here have to do really with anything that feels more aligned to miscommunications or energy. I want to put it this way. Okay, I'm going to say this. It came up the other day. I'm going to say it again. When energy has decided that they want to misunderstand you, there's going to be very little that one can say to help one feel like something is different there, right? When we move into that modality, when it's like that's that moment that we almost see, it's like if the miscommunication is like, if energy is like determined to misunderstand, then that's the energy of almost observing that such is the case. But we see even now, that isn't energy that's trying to go to the work of trying to clarify something there if that's present. It's more just observing that that is the case and taking, again, a little bit of that like open palm approach, leaving that to be like almost like letting something kind of lay in that way almost allows for the possibility of something to heal, as opposed to like matching an energetic vibration there and creating something that feels like it's even an even bigger wall. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now and I have to say, this is something that's a little bit easier for the feminine right now, a little bit more difficult for the masculine. Because this is the masculine still working on an ability to get very reactive when they're observing and seeing those obstruction points, while the feminine is taking a little bit more of that like open hand approach. So even here, we see that these energies are helping one another by sharing their perspective. We see even now, like even when these energies are in alignment, it's not because they exactly experience and address things the same way, but they're able to lend each other their perspective that helps them get a bigger picture or a bigger understanding of the possibilities and how to overcome obstacles. Continuing to get clarification between our Eight of Wands in its reversal and our Knight of Swords in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification, what did I say? Coming through right now with that Chariot energy, and that's what's so beautiful about this. This is the energy that doesn't feel like they have to be like minds, in the sense that everything that they experience, they feel and have the same interpretation. Of having that robust experience, that feeling of the broadening of the perception that occurs when we build towards our experience with a trusted energetic source that feels like it is an accompaniment to our own energetic perspective, right? Moving forward in that way, it feels like that amplification point, because it's not just one that you're moving forward and you're feeling that complete confidence that everything that you're doing is energetically right, but having that point, that counterpoint that is always present, right? That energy that doesn't feel like it's playing the devil's advocate, but almost having the benefit of the doubt there, if you will. That ability of seeing something from a different perspective that allows for that sense of energetic confidence in such a way, because that is the energy that feels the easement point, and recognizing that even when you hit an obstruction point, you're both effectively trying to tackle the same hurdle. You're trying to navigate the same problem. You may just both have different ways in terms of how you might want to address or direct one's attention, but that feels like it creates a more robust experience as you go forward from this point. And that's that appreciation that we see in that moment of someone lending a different perspective to someone, because that's that moment when you're healed enough, you don't take someone bringing forward a different perspective as an assault on your ego. You will let go of the ego when you're in the state of trust, and you feel the appreciation in being able to see something from a different point of view. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, this is the energy that feels like this is the start of something really beautiful that's happening here. And what happens in the moment that we feel that the start of something beautiful occurs? Closure is a very quiet door. Closure does not come from going back to the past. Closure comes when something beautiful begins. So we see even now, like a lot of this energy, so much of that focus, so much of that excitement is guiding them forward right now. It's not that the past still isn't there. It's that it's taking the rear view. It's that it's moving further away. It's that your attention, your focus is directed towards the path ahead. And this is energy that's moving towards one another to a certain extent, because one of the gifts that they've given each other via the ability to articulate and agree upon manifestation goals is that assurance to one another that they're both headed in the same direction, which is not back towards the past, but towards the future that they're potentially creating together. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, this is why if a manifestation goal isn't brought forth, this is an energy trying to stick around and try to puzzle out why. This isn't energy trying to be patient and saying, well, maybe if I wait, something that's not there will magically appear. This isn't energy that is trying to pull rabbits out of hats. This is energy that's watching to see what's growing. And if this is the energy that was starting to grow with someone and they're not seeing that ability to articulate on a manifestation goal, this is the energy that's just moving forward, because that's the energy that says, I'm choosing my manifestation goal. And if this is energy that's saying my manifestation goal is choosing someone that has a manifestation goal and is able to articulate it, then this is the energy that simply says there's nothing to split hairs about. It's either present or it's absent. I'm either choosing what I want to manifest, or I'm choosing what I don't want to manifest. And that is what's encouraging a lot of the masculine and feminine energy to move forward with a lot more vitality right now, which is showing some of the signs of the breakthrough. Because this isn't the energy that's internalizing that external problem. That's the energy just taking the facts at hand. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Knight of Swords and our Nine of Swords in its upright. One card to clarify, please. This is the energy in separation that's focusing on what the foundation they want. This is the energy that's remembering and saying, if I want a strong relationship, it needs to start with a strong foundation. If I want a strong relationship, I can't start on wet sand. I can't start on slippery foundations. I can't start where something cannot grow. This is the energy that says when someone is able to articulate a manifestation goal, what they're basically saying to one another is, I have a plan. This is what my dream is. And this is the energy that's almost articulating and saying that if someone isn't able to express that, then that's the energy that says, I can't build with someone that doesn't show an ability to articulate on what they want to create. So this is a lot of that energy, feeling the frustration about it, but also staying very committed and focused to what their own plans and pathwork is, because that is the moment that they feel like they're building that stability within the self and the security of moving towards their own goals. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, this is the energy that's feeling the equivalent of the start to something really beautiful. Because I have to stress right now, some of this energy, it's not like they've committed to one another. It's not that the articulation of the manifestation goal is a commitment promise, but in a way it is, because the commitment promise is the honesty. The commitment promise is the clarity. The commitment promise is the action that is being experienced, that bears beyond words. Because by articulating upon what one hopes to manifest, you're also articulating and saying, I'm not going to try to build around you. I'm going to try to build with you. And I'm telling you what it is that I desire, to make sure to recognize that you can either choose to move towards me in that capacity, or you can choose to move away from me. And so for the ability to see someone who has that level or degree of conscientiousness and care and compassion for the type of relationship that they are trying to cultivate with a counterpart, that is the energetic commitment that the energy is seeing around one another, that can feel triggering, because receiving that in that moment suddenly reminds you of all the spaces and places wherein you might have felt like you had to struggle or fight or beg or cry or scream or demand or run from someone, hoping to elicit that level and degree of honesty and openness and security. While for masculine, and this is the energy that recognizes that you cannot chase for that. You cannot pull it out of someone. You just need to observe if it is there. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is deep within the divine union, this is why the energy is moving in such a way that they're leaving that possibility of energy to change, but they're also accepting the situations at hand, because this is an energy, again, that, this is the energy that is having that. I have to say this even now. This is energy potentially even recognizing and working in such a way that whenever we create something, whenever we change something, it's always going to create that sense of like even in the moment that we, like even recognizing one's own ability to try to move conscientiously, a lot of this energy within the divine union is observing and understanding that even when you move as conscientiously as possible, even when you move with as much care as possible, that there's always going to potentially be that frustration point. There's always going to be someone who takes offense. There's always going to be someone who takes something energetically personally that doesn't have it doesn't require it to be taken personally. There's always that modality there. But this is the energy that's trying to stay very focused in relationality to not matching that frequency, but almost really holding firm in terms of, again, articulating and amplifying and feeling the stability of what they're energetically creating. That can, I want to say, like, that doesn't fall apart or doesn't shatter, because it's not reliant or dependent on what the energy outside of the energetic union feels. Like that's that moment that feels like that solidarity or stability that the energy within the divine union is creating for themselves right now. That is almost, again, building that sense of closure, because if there's energy that comes towards them in that way, it's almost that compassion and seeing the pain that is eliciting that, as opposed to the anger or the frustration, right? Because the anger is really just disguised pain. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Star card and our Chariot. Beautiful cards in combination. Clarification coming through right now with the Four of Cups, and it's upright, which is why we see even now for a lot of the energy within the divine union, recognizing that it doesn't feel like something that the energy is putting all of their time, effort, and attention into navigating, because this is the energy within the divine union that is making the conscientious effort of always energetically choosing the high road, because this is the energy that feels like the prioritization point is the feeling of what they're creating with the counterpart. So we see even now that ability of moving towards one another in that way. That is that moment of helping each other, even when you feel frustrated, even when you feel upset, even when you feel confused, because this is the energetic equivalent that we see that is working to facilitate that positive outcome. It's always leaving the possibility of or opportunity open of someone around them to change their mind. Right? Like in a way, like that's almost the energy within the divine union, trying to help the energy around the divine union maintain an open mind, experience the possibilities, because the energy within is also in that same modality. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, this is the excitement point that is being amplified in the commitment. These energies coming into divine union right now feel like there's no commitment between them, but there is. The commitment has been the promise of always amplifying and allowing the choice in relationality to the direction that you're moving towards. Because in the act of being able to articulate to each other what they hope to manifest, that was the energy that basically promised one another, even at the point of encountering each other, of always giving the other the ability to choose. And that gift of choice, that amplification of choice, is what is necessary to build a healthy partnership. Because that is the difference between building around someone, trying to utilize someone to a means for an end, as opposed of me feeling like you're moving towards something with intentionality together. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is in separation, a lot of this energy that we're effectively seeing right now is the energy that's articulating and feeling that and saying, I'm choosing the energy that is able to articulate on their manifestation goals, because that creates the expression of choice and allowing me to help choose and for us to choose what it is that we move towards. And this is the energy that even now, if they're moving away from something, they feel like they're breaking an energetic cycle, because this is the energy for the feminine of, again, not internalizing an external problem, not saying, what do I need to change about myself if something isn't being brought forth? This is the energy saying, I just need to become more myself, because if that's something that, again, being more myself isn't bringing a manifestation goal forward, that's the self protecting the feminine from the energy of the masculine that doesn't have the ability to do so. And this is the masculine that's moved towards feminine in this way and says, I want feminine that doesn't feel like I'm like blindfolding them and leading them forward into the future, but feels like they are my energetic counterpart, that we're moving in that space together. So both of these energies right now in separation, making those breakthroughs, taking that energetic choice and having that change of perception feels like the manifestation goal coming through, because you see the changes within the self in the process. Continuing to get clarification between our Chariot energy and our Three of Pentacles. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now. I love, you guys, I'm so excited to keep seeing this card popping up in this position, because this is we had it yesterday in this position. We've got it today in this position. We've got here our Seven of Swords in its reversal. So this is the energy that's effectively articulating and saying to themselves, this modality of focusing on what it is that you're trying to manifest, focusing on building a strong foundation at the beginning of a relationship, not building into a space of saying, well, maybe if I stick around in something that feels like it's unstable, maybe something magically stable will appear. This is the energy that's focusing on a manifestation goal, not being an accomplishment after a partner, like after a connection's been made, but a requirement to facilitate whether there will be one going forward. This is the energy that feels like they're creating closure and they're healing from the past, because they're making choices that would not lead to the past repeating itself. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, Coming into divine union, this is a closure you're receiving on the past as you move forward, because the ability to articulate what it is that you're creating with another, feeling the stability and security and how that can feel as you move towards it. This is the energy that's almost reaffirming, even in that way, towards one another and also towards themselves. I'm not going back. I'm only going forward. This is the direction I'm going. That is the commitment that you've given one another, that commitment to move forward. While for masculine and feminine energy right now in divine, within the divine union frequency, this is the energetic equivalent of taking a bit more of a wait and see approach in relationality to anything that you feel is creating more of that frustration, because this is the energy you feel that you're creating change. You're literally creating change around you right now in terms of what you're creating between you. And when we have those moments that we recognize that we're creating change around us, in the moment of what we recognize we're creating between us, that's that moment that you almost have to allow the water to settle to a certain extent, to recognize the difference between what feels like it's actually going to be an obstruction versus not wanting to not wanting to amplify anything that feels like it's energetically difficult, because it all depends on where you're putting your concentration on. And this is the energy within the divine union that's focused is within the union, not so much on the energy around it. It's being somewhat mindful of it and considerate, but its sole focus isn't outside of the energetic union, it's within. Final card for today's spread between our Four of Cups in its upright and our Seven of Swords in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Page of Swords. So beautiful energy here today to be ending our reading on today, because this is that moment of, again, started out with strength, ending today with confidence. So a lot of that feeling of stability, of confidence, of security coming through. But what's beautiful about this is a lot of the energy, especially the energy deep within the divine union frequency right now, that opening of possibility, that leaving that sense of hope and expectation, because again, this is energy that is putting a lot of concentration and effort on what is outside the divine union, particularly because it's almost the affirmation of telling the energy outside the divine union, this isn't the energetic past repeating itself. This is something new. This is something different, right? That's the energy almost saying, like, this is what we're creating between ourselves, and this is what we're energetically offering. So we see even now, like, a lot of that energy, feeling that sense of like strength or support, both in that sense of how they're bringing themselves forward in that way, like articulating on that energetic confidence, but also receiving kind in turn. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, this is that feeling of stability. This is that feeling of excitement that's happening, because if this is energy, I'm telling you right now, this energy hasn't made a commitment to one another, but they have. The commitment is the promise of always prioritizing the choice. And if this energy started to build the relationship by articulating what the manifestation goals are, they basically said, I'm willing to relinquish the connection with you if you choose differently. And so the ability of feeling the care and the love that is necessary to be able to present what one desires and allowing that opportunity for someone to choose, that is the energy that feels like the choice that's been made is the energy saying, I choose to give you that choice. And that is the energy that is feeling the confidence and security in moving forward, because it doesn't feel like they're moving into something blindly. It feels like they know and they trust the energy that they're moving with along the way, because they're recognizing the gift of judgment, and the judgment by which someone is coming through as a feeling of security and safety, through which recognizing how one moves, that again is beyond words, but articulated in action. While for masculine and feminine in separation right now, this is why the energy is not sticking around if they're not seeing that level and degree of confidence taking shape. And for masculine and feminine, there's different reasons why they feel like that might be. For masculine, there's a little bit, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. There's a little bit of an assumption that if the feminine isn't articulating upon a manifestation goal, it's because their manifestation goal is really some kind of secret hope for the past to return. Right? While for the feminine, this is a modality of a masculine There could be a whole bunch of reasons as to why the masculine might not necessarily be bringing forth the manifestation goal, but the feminine isn't sticking around to try to parse out why, or isn't making it their job to try to feel like it's an accomplishment if they're able to bring forth that manifestation goal in the masculine. This is, again, masculine and feminine saying it's there or it's not. And by doing so, that change within the self is allowing the breakthrough to occur within the self as they move forward to potentially find what they're like, find who they are looking for. Bottom of the deck on this reading, Ace of Pentacles in its reversal. There's a lot of sensitivity. And I have to say, this is why we see a little bit of that shortness today, making sure that you don't get reactive. Because if this is energy that feels like a lot of the energy today is being very mindful of time. So there's that desire or that ability of not wanting to feel like one's time is being wasted. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy in that modality, a lot of that work has to do with the appreciation or the desire for one's time to be appreciated, right? This isn't energy that recognizes that you always need to be in that space of what you get is what you receive. But that ability of consideration, that ability of appreciation is important. That's why we see even now, for a lot of the energy deep within the divine union frequency, there's a little bit of that, I told you, there's a little bit about that desire of wanting to bring things into fruition sooner rather than later that feels frustrating, because for a lot of the energy within the divine union, they're moving at a slower rate for the energy outside of the frequency, right? So that feels a little frustrating because that's more of that energy I said, which says like energy saying you should slow down, and energy inside the union being like, we would speed up if we could. You know, like I'm already slowed down. We would speed up if we could. While for the masculine and feminine energy that's coming into divine union right now, this is that moment of like feeling like it's almost like you're feeling that inevitability. You're feeling like, again, it's like almost that energy that's like I like trying not to feel overly committed to someone. But it's almost happening because you're already recognizing that something that you experience with someone right now, it feels more tangible and real because you guys have agreed upon it. Because a lot of this energy right now, just they're recovering from the state that just having energy acknowledge that something was happening between them and another person was the intangible. Right? That was a moment that they made. A lot of the energy coming into divine union is healing from spaces and places wherein words didn't match action, via meaning that they were experiencing relationships with someone that were real, but someone wouldn't articulate it in words, so it felt like it wasn't real, which can create that shiftiness, right? That can create that uncertainty. So this is the energy within the divine union that's recognizing that in experiencing the opposite, in experiencing something where you feel like it's real even though it's just forming, because you've both acknowledged that it is present. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, this is the energy that does not have time to waste. Like this is even energy that's almost saying to themselves, what if I give it a little bit more time? What if I put a little bit more in? Maybe if I just give someone a little bit more, something that isn't there will appear. But this is the energy that's almost saying the price is too high. This is the energy almost, again, recovering so much from those experiences that I just articulated upon. That's almost saying the price is too high. That sense or that ability of hoping or putting patience into something. Like that's the energy of saying, I'm not going to try to force a spring if I'm not seeing any sign of it. I'm just going to have to recognize that that's the difference between putting the work in to help someone find themselves versus having that sense of saying, if you're going to find me, you better know who you yourself are, yourself. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember, I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. A couple of updates before we close for the day. First and foremost, if you haven't heard, guys, we are continuing our tarot classes tomorrow. Please join me tomorrow at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We are going to be continuing our classwork and focusing on the High Priestess card. So far, we have done the Fool and the Magician. If you would like to become a part of that live class, all you need to do is head over to my Substack, graystrega.substack.com. Your paid subscription will grant you access to the paid class as well as receiving all of the course materials and recordings for the previous classes. So you've still got some time to catch up if you'd like to be all up to date for that next class. You'll also have access to a one-on-one class chat with me and the other students to ask any questions in terms of anything that we may be studying or any questions that you have in general around tarot or spirituality. Also, if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only do you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you will also receive a one-on-one mentorship reading with me, wherein we will assess where you are in your own tarot journey, and I'll give you the best information to guide you forward as you continue in your own particular journey. One of the things I tried to do with these classes is really focus to make them useful to both the novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. So thank you so much to my current students. I'm really excited to be working with you tomorrow. And if you're just joining us, welcome. I can't wait to see you there. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there for any updates in relationality to anything that we're new offering, any new events, etc. I also do a weekly newsletter to keep you up to date on what my live schedule is if you join as well. Also, we are doing a giveaway right now for a free tarot reading, and all you need to do to become a part of that giveaway is head over to my Linktree. There is a 2-minute travel survey there. Filling out that survey will grant you an entry into the giveaway, but if you would like to increase your chances, go ahead and forward that giveaway to a friend. For each person you refer, you will get an additional entry, because when I pull the winner, I will not only be giving a free reading to the winner, but also to the person who referred them. So thank you so much if you've already taken that survey, and I wish you the best of luck of winning. Finally, I have some new offerings I'd like to let you guys know about. On top of my typical life path readings, I am now offering mentorship classes, which can be purchased on an individual level or on a monthly level. So 4 45-minute classes at a discounted rate. These focus on the area of your choosing. For that reason, I take a very limited number of students for that very reason. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent tarot support, I'm very excited to now be offering weekly tarot insight packages. That is a discounted package rate on 4 30-minute readings, 1 per week for the month. You can find all of those packages over on my Linktree. Link is in my bio. I hope you guys have an absolutely beautiful day. Please take care of yourselves. Please take care of each other. And we will do this again